Welcome to the Think Small podcast, hypergrowth for small businesses. So, what's slowing you down?
Hi, this is Gene Bohensky from the Think Small podcast. Today we have Adam Tartt, who's the president of CAP3, which is a professional services company that helps businesses. So, Adam, please introduce yourself and tell us how you got into your business and what you guys do to help businesses.
Absolutely. Well, Gene, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and to share a little bit about our story and how we come alongside business owners and entrepreneurs and business leaders to fill in the gap. And as you mentioned during the introduction, CAP3 is a professional services firm for businesses. And your listeners may be thinking, well, what does that mean? What does a professional services firm for businesses do? And so we have really recognized that in the life of a business owner, an organization, there are specific business functions that are necessary for the business to function well. And interestingly, most business owners and entrepreneurs start or buy a business not because they are great at all of these business functions. They typically start or buy a business because they are passionate about a product or a service. They're very good at what they do, but there are pieces of running a business and operating a business well that they may lack. They may lack the education or the experience or the understanding. And so that's where CAP3 steps in, and we stand in the gap. And currently we are serving clients all over the country in the areas of accounting and marketing. And so we will partner with businesses and run the accounting function for them, outsourced accounting function. And that's all the daily transactional accounting, handling AP, running payroll, full month end close, cash budgets and cash projections, operating budgets, and CFO level consulting. And so we'll support businesses in that way on the accounting and finance side of our business. The other way we will partner with organizations is by running the marketing function for them. So we have a full marketing agency in-house. And so we have writers on staff, web designers on staff, search engine marketing specialists on staff, and marketing directors and fractional CMOs on staff. And so we'll come alongside these businesses that really understand that there are some critical components that they need to be able to market their business as well, but they lack maybe an overarching strategy, or maybe they lack someone that has the experience and the education and the understanding to put together a really comprehensive and cohesive plan for their marketing to operate well. And so we will partner with businesses all over the country and do that. We stand in the gap and create those marketing strategies and then execute those strategies. I was born and raised in southeastern North Carolina, in Wilmington currently. And I've just always really enjoyed business. I've always really enjoyed numbers. I've enjoyed business. I've enjoyed entrepreneurship. My education is all in finance. So I have undergrad and graduate degrees in finance. And so it's kind of in my blood, so to speak. But I also had the first part of my career, I was blessed to be able to work with an organization in the employee recognition and engagement space, and worked for that organization for over a couple of decades. And I was able to learn really what made business work. I certainly had the education, but kind of rolling up my sleeves and really understanding how business worked and what the struggles that entrepreneurs faced was really, really relevant to me. And so I had a kind of firsthand lessons for a couple of decades, understanding what went well in businesses, understanding what struggles were there, understanding what obstacles entrepreneurs and business owners face. And it created in me this passion to come alongside business owners and help them. I know how hard it is to operate a business well. I know the sacrifices that entrepreneurs make, and oftentimes the very lonely role. If you're a business leader or a business owner, it can become very lonely, and it can become very isolating. And so CAP3 exists because we want to be a trusted advisor. We want to be a sounding board for those business owners that are facing challenges that many times their teams don't understand. Maybe their market doesn't understand, their clients don't understand, but we understand. We get entrepreneurship, we get business ownership, we get leadership. And so CAP3 exists to be able to provide and to be that resource for business owners. I've been doing this now for going on 8 years, and just really love partnering with these passionate entrepreneurs all over the country, hearing how all these different types of businesses run, what made them who they are, what their goals and objectives and passions are. And we just love being a part of helping them accomplish all of those things.
As a business coach, I see all the time how business owners kind of they all learn as they go, right? I mean, there's so
Yeah.
much that they need to learn. Being a business owner myself, I know that I'm out of my league. I have a business for the first time with over 100 people, and I've never had a business with 100 people before, and I don't know anybody that's had a business with 100 people before. So you come into this situation where you have problems to solve, you have no idea where to go to. You don't know
Mhm.
who can help you. Your friends can't help you. Your family can't help you because they think you were crazy to begin with to start the business, right? Even if you have other friends with businesses, they're most likely different than yours or in a different phase. So every business owner is forced to find help if they're
Yeah.
smart enough to look. All right, a lot of people don't, or a lot of people don't want outside counsel, but you really do need outside counsel. You need help, especially on the finance side, right? Finance and accounting. Most people who are good at business are terrible at finance and accounting, right?
Yeah.
And then there's a whole bunch of finance and accounting people that are also terrible as well. That's my experience. Uh,
That's right.
so, so it gives a lot of opportunity for people to help. So one of the things that I've thought about instantly that I'm sure the listenership wants to know is some examples. What are some of the examples of how you've
Mhm.
transformed businesses from where they were to what they are now? I mean, I think people would love to hear how you've transformed them.
Yeah, I love that, Gene. And there's really nothing more that I enjoy talking about than that, because again, we're here to make an impact. And if we're not making an impact, we're doing something wrong. And so I love reflecting on some of the businesses that we've really been blessed to be able to work with and to make a meaningful difference for. So I'll share a few examples, and I'll also say what was really interesting to me as I got into this business. I went to undergrad and graduate school, learned a lot of book knowledge about business. You learn how businesses are supposed to operate. You do a bunch of case studies. It's a little different when the rubber hits the road. And I think that as I reflect on my time here and all of the things that I've learned doing this business, I kind of one of the things I say to people oftentimes is nothing surprises me anymore. Here are a couple truths. Entrepreneurs are highly resilient. Entrepreneurs are passionate, they're smart, they're resilient, they're willing to take risk, they're problem solvers, they are gritty, and all of those things are phenomenal. And at the same time, what it oftentimes produces is an organization that is doing things that they're intending to do, but they're doing it in a very clunky and inefficient way. And it's because this entrepreneur just solved problems, right? They just built this business and they're solving problems and putting band-aids on. And I'll give you a couple of examples of what I mean by that. And some interesting things that I've learned is that it doesn't really matter how small or large the business is. It doesn't even really matter how new or old the business is. We've had the pleasure of being able to work with startups. We've had the pleasure of working with legacy businesses that have been around for 50 plus years. We've had the pleasure of working with small businesses and large businesses. And I kind of see the same thing all the time. So I'll share a couple of examples on the finance side of our business. We partnered a few years ago. We partnered with an organization in an interesting industry, kind of we'll just call it an agricultural industry, and they had been in business for 42 years. So it was a legacy business. They had a great brand name. Again, they'd been around a long time. They weren't new. They had grown. They had scaled. They had a full-time controller on staff. They had what they believed to be some critical pieces of an accounting function, but they had some other professionals in their lives that recognized that there was a huge need and there was some really significant misstatements as it relates to their financial information. And so we got connected with this business and had great conversations with the business owner. And I took, one of the things that I'll oftentimes do when I'm starting a conversation is like, let's just start the conversation, but let's take a look at your financial statements. And so I had the business owner send over financial statements. And within 5 seconds of looking at their balance sheet, I recognized that the numbers were wrong. There was no way that the way this balance sheet was laid out and what the numbers were telling me that they were accurate. And I wish I could tell you that was unique, Gene. I wish I could tell you that that only happens every so often. But without exception, when a business reaches out to us and decides to explore what an outsourced solution would look like, without exception, I always find misstatements in their financial information. So one of the things I would like to point out is, you can be a really wise and smart decision maker as a business owner. You can be a really thoughtful business owner in making great decisions, but your decisions are only going to be at the quality that the information that you're using to make those decisions is. And so with this organization, we found that there were myriad broken processes. There were really clunky processes. There were things built into their system and their accounting function that only could end up with inaccurate information. And unfortunately, by the time the business owner got to us, they had made some pretty significant financial decisions based on information that they thought was accurate. That wasn't. They thought they understood what their margins were. They made some pretty significant investment in expanding their operation. They bought more property, they invested in infrastructure, and they really went heavy into expanding their business, their operation. And unfortunately, their margin, what they understood their margin to be, was completely wrong. And it was because the information was wrong. So thankfully, they partnered with us. We were able to uncover all of those inaccuracies. We were able to go in and do a lot of cleanup, get some things fixed and remedied. We were able to fix some processes and implement some better controls. And it took us a while, but we were able to get this organization turned in the right direction and to help them rebuild after this really significant misstep in spending a lot of money and capital that they didn't have, investing in and growing a business that they misunderstood the margins on. And we have lots and lots of examples like that on the finance side. There's also some really, really exciting examples of new businesses that have come to us. We partnered about 3 years ago. We partnered with a new roofing company. They were brand new to business ownership. They had worked in the roofing industry before. They decided to go out on their own and partner up and start a roofing business. And we were super excited for them. We cheered them on. But as they got started, they recognized they knew what they knew, but they didn't know. They also knew what they didn't know, which means they need someone to come alongside them and help them in the area of accounting. And so we partnered with them early in their life cycle of their business. And we were just really, really excited to be able to provide them with the tools, the resources, the information, everything they needed to be able to grow their business. They grew their business by about 225%, doubled the number of locations, became wildly profitable, and we ended up working them through startup all the way to exit. They were able to exit just about a year ago or so. And so those are that life cycle of that entrepreneur or the thing. Those are the types of things that like charge us up and really hype us up and get us so excited about what we do and the way we partner with businesses. Similar types of things on the marketing side of our business. You know, we do a lot of work in all kinds of industries, but I like to think a little bit about some of the work that we've done in the medical industry. On the marketing side of our business, we've partnered with a pretty significant size hospital network and physician network in the southeastern part of the country. And we've had really phenomenal results with that organization. To give you a couple of examples, after we've partnered with them, we've been able to increase patient conversions by 15%. We've been able to increase AI visibility. AI is a huge thing now. Obviously, it's changing search and changing the way people do business. But we've been able to increase AI visibility for that organization by 335% by some of the tactics and strategies that we use. And obviously, in the world of healthcare, Google reviews, as in so many businesses, Google reviews are very meaningful. And so we have a reputation management program that we work with our clients on. We've been able to increase the Google rating for this particular health network from 3.2 all the way to 4.8 out of 5. And so that's hugely impactful for an organization like that. And so we're just so excited to be a part of those types of stories day in and day out for businesses all over the country and all kinds of different industries, because we know how hard it is to do well. We want to come alongside them and provide them with the resources, the information, the tactics, the strategies to be able to do everything that they were meant to do as an organization. And that's what we love doing.
That's great. I mean, I know I can take it from my own experience how important outside companies can make huge impact on small businesses that don't really know exactly what they're doing. And they need to get counsel. I need to get competent people. Is there anything else you want to mention before we wrap things up that our listenership should know?
Yeah, I would just say that as your listeners are kind of thinking through some of the things that I've shared today and laying it over their own personal situation, sometimes as I'm encountering business owners, there is this feeling that maybe I'm not ready for an outsourced model, or maybe just building an internal team, a solid internal team makes a lot of sense. And I would say that could certainly be the case. And I'll also recognize that I'm biased because this is what we do. So this is going to be coming from a biased perspective. But I want to share a couple of things for your listeners to think about. And that is, when we take the decision of, do I build an internal team or do I outsource? outsource this. One of the things that I've observed and I've learned over the course of the last few years is that unless a business owner or a hiring manager has a really strong background in the business function that you're trying to hire for. So for example, if I'm a business owner and I'm trying to build an internal finance function, an internal finance team, unless I'm a strong accountant and really understand how to tell whether financial statements are accurate or not, I'm going to really lack the skill to be able to know if the person I've hired is doing a good job. And we all know that resumes are worth basically the paper they're printed on. And, a lot of things can be elaborated upon on a resume. Really, where we understand whether or not a person's a good fit is when we see the product of their work. Well, business owners that don't have the education in all of these different business functions are at a disadvantage because they don't know if this person I've hired to be my controller or this person I've hired to be my CFO, if they're actually giving me quality work.
I've seen that over and over again. I agree. I mean, that's something is really something. I always think that business owners shouldn't be doing their own hiring, right? They should be outsourcing hiring because, especially salespeople, that's another story. But like even finance people, because they just don't know. They don't know how to judge.
They don't know what to look for, and the research tells us that in an interview, typically speaking, the interviewer decides whether or not they like the candidate within about the first 27 seconds. Like it's typically that decision's made, and we can't stop that. That's kind of human nature. But what we do as an outsourced model is it's on us to make sure we have really, really high quality professionals that know what they're doing inside and out. And our main mandate is to give that business owner everything they need to be successful, whether that's on the finance side or the marketing side of our business. We're trying to do everything we can to help that business owner be successful and to go accomplish everything that they dreamed that they were going to accomplish when they decided to jump into this fun jungle of business ownership.
Right. Well, thanks, Adam. It was great to have you on, and look forward to maybe bringing you on to another podcast on another topic.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much, Gene. I enjoyed it.
Welcome to the Think Small podcast, hypergrowth for small businesses. So, what's slowing you down?